Yeah, back again. First time in a little while. I've been away. So I'm going for a brew day, a raspberry version of the mango fruit beer that I did a little while back. I've got 2 kilos of Lager Malt, I've got 1.5 kilos of wheat, and I've got 0.4 kilos of naked rolled oats and 200 grams of acid malt. That's because I've got Burton water. I'm aiming for a pH of 5.4 and I'm using an additional 6 grams of calcium chloride to bring me down to that. So yeah, not hugely glamorous, set up in the corner of the kitchen. I've got a mash in at 66. I've got my water ready. I've got my 6 grams of calcium chloride in there already. And I've got all my grains ready to go. I've got some steriliser going inside of my fermenter, and I've got some cleaner going inside of my keg. I've been away for about 4 months, came back, opened the fridge up, and everything's covered in mould. So I've got some cleaning to do out there sometime in the middle of the brew day to make sure that everything's nice and clean. I've got 3 litres of raspberry puree to add probably after about 18 hours. I'm using Voss Kveik, or however it is you pronounce it, that I got from Thomas. Thanks mate, I'm going to send a bottle your way when I've actually got some beer to share around. Yes, I'm going to go and start throwing some grain at some water. Okay, so I'm all dough'd in. Just about to see that there. Got my recirculation on the go. All the grains in, 56 minutes to go until I step it up. Catch you all again in a bit. Well, I've raised the grain bed up, starting to sparge. I've got my sparge water at 75 degrees. I'm going to start raising the temperature up now. There we go. Back again, so I've got 17 minutes left of the boil. Just put my Whirlfloc in a little bit early. I've got the counterflow hooked up. Give that 10 minutes so that will sanitize. Quite a lot of sediment in the beer, but when I've pulled my sample tube, seems to look pretty good. Really quite clear. The brake seems to be doing quite a good job. I mean, there's still 20 minutes left to go on the main batch, so yeah, happy. Thinking that's going to be pretty clear. Don't necessarily want it too clear though. Like I said, I've got 3 litres of raspberry puree to put in it, so that's going to go in it. Also, I want this beer to be the same as the Brango, and the whole point about it is aiming for 4 to 4.5%. I don't want something that's too strong. I want it to not be sweet, but I don't want it to be sour or bland. I want it to be appealing. The sort of thing you can have several pints, bottles, cans of it, and so when you put the raspberry in, or when you put a fruit in, the fruit tends to the sugars all get fermented off. So you need to back sweeten, or rather I want to back sweeten because that's the style that I'm after. I'm after a fruit beer. I'm not after a Goes yet or a kettle sour yet. Once I've perfected this bit, then yeah, I will move on to that. But I'm after a fruit beer, and so I want it sort of soft and fruity and bouncy, and I want some hops coming through, a little bit of bitterness just to try and even things out a little bit, give a bit more of a rounded flavour on the palate. Don't want it just one dimensional. So to achieve that, I'm using Xylitol. So I don't know exactly how much I need to use, so I'm just going to add another couple of minutes to my kettle, because it's It's not yet back up to the boil yet on the resuck. So I've got 250 grams of xylitol I'm going to add in just a minute. So that's to a preempt for the back sweeten, so that hopefully when it comes around to needing to back sweeten, I don't need to add anywhere near as much as I think I do. I'm pretty sure I added, I forget the name of it, it's a different type of sweetener. It was, I think, half as sweet as sugar, and I used something like 700 grams of that, so I'm estimating I'm going to need 350 grams there or thereabouts. However, raspberry on its own isn't necessarily too sweet, so I want to aim on the lower than expected side. So because of that, I'm going for 250 grams of xylitol, which I think is going to be about there, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to start spooning her in, and I'll be back in a minute. Naturally, this is called the professional aeration technique. What do you mean professional, mate? Just dangling a hose. So we've got the wort in the fermenter. Naturally, I've been fermenting my own strain of yeast for a little while. I've got a reasonable amount of it. It's not in a baggie, didn't buy it online. Not that sort of a guy. It's not drugs. It's not drugs at all. 35 degrees C. That's what that bad boy is. Voss Kveik. So, before the back sugar was added, we had 1040. Now we've got 1048. Clarity's pretty good. Pretty good considering we've still got break going on. So, what are you saying? No, I'm not following you. So basically you just couldn't be asked, is that what you're saying? I put you in there 36 hours ago and you just sat there doing nothing for the first 18 hours. Well, that's just not grateful. I'm a what? And in the last 18 hours you've been a greedy git and you've made this. What is that? That's not what I wanted. Right, well here it is. Finished fermenting maybe about 4 days ago. Like I said, I wanted it to be juicy in a raspberry way. If you just leave it to ferment out on its own, you can end up with a, quite a tart end product. And that's not what I'm after. I'm after something that kind of sort of sings of the juices that are within it. In terms of colour, not quite all the way there. I wanted it to be a bit more dark red. It looks more like a raspberry. So I think it needs maybe some blackberries or something to help bring out some of the colour. Not really quite sure. On the nose, get some fruit, doesn't really sing a raspberry. There's a tartness to the nose. And then it's sweet without being overpowering in the sweetness, more like a sort of a medium cider sweetness, but not dry. You get raspberry all the way around, soft and juicy, but then the mouthfeel goes on, and then there's like a lasting, almost like a bitter tartness that goes around the edge of your tongue. Yeah, in the foreground it's nice and fruity. There's a lot of fruit there the first time you taste it, but it doesn't last for too long. It's not like overpowering in the fruity sense. I would rather, I think it needs more work. Personally, I wanted it to be like a punch to the face with a big fistful of raspberries. The first mouthful is like that, but it doesn't last like that all the way through. The first one is, wow, there's loads of raspberries, and then you're thinking, okay, this is really quite pleasant. And I don't want it to be really quite pleasant. I want it to be violently fruity. All in all, quite happy with it. To get the sweetness that I wanted, though, I ended up needing to put just shy of a kilo of xylitol into a 21 litre batch, which is quite a lot. But you think about how much fruit you get, how much sugars you get in the fruit anyway. I don't think it's overly sweet. You certainly can't taste the sweetness. It doesn't taste deliberately sweetened. So yeah, there you go anyway. Hope you like it. Recipe will be on the page. Much love. Keep drinking.